All right, we are going live. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Andy Pepper here. I have been entering our digital studio, as we call it, every Wednesday. Wednesdays are my day shift. So depending on if I have a morning shoot or not, like this morning I was at the WMU hockey practice. I'll do an afternoon digital live. If it's the opposite and I have an afternoon practice, I'll come into the digital studio on Wednesday mornings. But either way, going to be talking with you on Wednesdays about anything that's important that we need to discuss in the sporting world. Obviously, Super Bowl LIX, Super Bowl 59 on Sunday. We'll circle back to that in a minute. We'll actually talk baseball because today's February 5th. That means pitchers and catchers report to spring training in about 10 days or so. So baseball season closer than you think, right around the corner, although right now we're all just worried about the Super Bowl. Anyways, let's talk about the Tigers. Jack Flaherty coming back to Detroit, obviously traded at the deadline last year to the Dodgers, and now he is coming right back, a 2-year, $35 million deal, although it has an opt-out after year one. So things somehow went south for the Tigers next season, although that would seem unlikely with the roster they have. He could end up being traded again. I know they got a nice little investment, nice little return rather on him last season. He won a ring with the Dodgers, wanted to re-sign in LA, but they allocated their money elsewhere. So Jack Flaherty, very fortunate for the Tigers, coming back on a 2-year deal that once again could be just a 1-year deal if he opts out after the 25 season. Went a combined 13-7 last year, a 3.17 ERA. Great signing for Detroit. Settles in as the number 2 starter in the rotation behind Tarek Skubal. So Detroit got a lot of arms. Right now, I think the projected rotation is probably Skubal, your Cy Young Award winner, Flaherty, Reese Olson, Alex Cobb, who got signed in the offseason, and the very exciting, very talented Jackson Jobe. And that leaves Casey Mize, theoretically, potentially on the outside looking in, Kader Montero, Kenta Maeda, Matt Manning. So that's a lot of good arms, and that's a problem that's going to solve itself in spring training. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to step up. Someone's going to struggle. We very well could see one of these players or more move for some arms or, some position player bats. We'll touch more on that in a minute because what this team needs is offense. Speaking of Alex Bregman, we talk about him pretty much every week, the Astros free agent third baseman. It seemed like the teams in on Alex Bregman still at this point were the Astros, Tigers, Red Sox. The Cubs recently made what's been described as some creative mystery offer. Don't know if he'd be interested in going there. But the Astros have suddenly started talking about Bregman in the past tense, which makes people think that they are now out on their veteran third baseman who's going to turn 31 years old, I believe, in March. He's 10th in WAR since 2017. He's a 2-time All-Star and MVP runner-up. He won a Gold Glove, I believe, after last season. Below average arm, not particularly athletic. There's some minor worry about declining skills. But if there's one position really that Detroit needs to upgrade, it's third base. Do you want to say hello to some folks who are joining us right now as well? As soon as I can figure out the digital studio. Last week, everybody was popping up on the side that was saying hello, but I think we've got a different setup here. Comments, there we go. Andy's learning how to use this thing. It's only my third time. Kathy, good afternoon. Ron Hibbs, how are you, my old friend? Glad you joined us. Took me a minute I'm computer illiterate, to figure out the digital studio on the keyboard here. I was wondering why I couldn't see the comments. So I'll check in as the comments pop up. Where was I? Oh, yeah. One position that Detroit definitely would need to upgrade is the third base position. Tigers third baseman last season hit just 234, 294 on base percentage, just 11 home runs. Really need a lot more production out of that position, which historically has been a power position, a run-producing position. So I don't know what's going to happen with Bregman, but it's got to happen quick. Again, 10 days till spring training starts. Most of your star players are signed, wrapped up by Christmas or early in the new year. He's a Scott Boras client, though, and Boras is notorious for holding out, and sometimes that blows up in his face, as we saw with a couple of his marquee free agents last year who were forced to take short-term sort of prove-it deals and didn't get the long-term deals they were hoping for. So I'll probably be refreshing Twitter. I still call it Twitter 5 times a day because Alex Bregman is always trending. So he's the last big domino to fall there. And I say that because, sorry, I got a bunch of notes here. Both sides. I'm all over the place with my notes. So the Tigers 2025 projected lineup, I was just looking at an article, and it seems pretty spot on. Parker Meadows in center field. He is a plus defender. He is a budding young star. Kerry Carpenter, definitely a potential star. 284 last year, 18 homers in just 87 games. Obviously, can play outfield, maybe perhaps more of a DH this year. Matt Bierling in right, definitely a position that could be upgraded. Riley Green, the Tigers' all-star left fielder. Colt Keith showed a ton as a rookie, really came on in the second half, really probably most excited about him long-term perhaps. Torkelson, obviously been very disappointing, the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. That's kind of in flux because if they sign Bregman, there could be sort of a domino effect. Bregman would play third. The Tigers also signed Gleyber Torres, the Yankees' second baseman in the offseason. He could play second. Keith could play first. Torkelson could be on the outside looking in. If no Bregman, Jace Young at third, Trey Sweeney at short. The Tigers lineup really drops. And look, no one's 9 deep usually with their lineup, but the Tigers lineup really falls off at the bottom of the lineup there with Young, Sweeney, and Rogers. If no Bregman added, no additions, no trades, again, with some of those arms to bring in a position player with some pop. And that's desperately what the Lions, the Lions. I still got the Lions on my brain. That's desperately what the Tigers need. Hello, Jeanette, checking in from Coldwater. I hope you're having a good afternoon, everybody. Ichiro, as we segue not so smoothly from the Tigers to Ichiro, the Seattle Mariners Hall of Famer. I threw this on the docket, so to speak, of something to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it for long, but it kind of drives me nuts. It's a pet peeve. One voter left Ichiro off his Hall of Fame ballot, his or her, and we don't know who that voter is. There's 394 ballots submitted. They have an option with the Baseball Writers Association of America for those who have a vote to make their vote public, and it's made public after 2 weeks after the announcement. 323 of those ballots were made public, so that's 82% or so. And the mystery voter who left Ichiro off, we don't know who it is. They haven't stepped forward. Mariano Rivera, the great Yankees closer, the only player elected unanimously. It's been kind of a joke because dating back to the very first Hall of Fame class in the early 30s, 34, 35, no one, not Ty Cobb, not the great Babe Ruth, not Walter Johnson, Cy Young, anyone was elected unanimously, and somehow people of the baseball writers have come to believe that no one deserves that. So there were some close calls, but no one till Rivera a few years ago. Derek Jeter also was 1 vote shy. We still don't know who left Jeter off their ballot. Ken Griffey Jr., Tom Seaver, also I think above 98% of the vote. But I'd love to know who left Ichiro off their Hall of Fame ballot and why. Before I came upstairs, I was checking some headlines on ESPN, the Michigan Wolverines. Today's National Signing Day. This used to be the big day, first Wednesday in February, but then they did the early signing day. So now that's the big one in December. But you'll still see some people, and marquee players as well, that will wait and they'll sign in February. One of those was a 5-star offensive tackle by the name of Ty Haywood, who signed with Michigan. So Sharon Moore, just an incredible class, his first full class since taking over for Jim Harbaugh. Haywood's ESPN's number 16 overall recruit, third-ranked offensive tackle in the country. Joins Bryce Underwood. Obviously, the star quarterback is the other 5-star recruit hauled in by the Wolverines, who I didn't look at the updated rankings, but are well inside the top 10 2025 rankings. Just an outstanding class by Moore as he looks to replenish the cupboard in Ann Arbor. All right, so smooth segue now to Super Bowl LIX 59, if you don't speak dead languages. The Chiefs obviously going for what would be a historic three-peat. No one's won three in a row. The Packers, the old Packers of Vince Lombardi, won in 65, 66, and 67. I think 65 was an NFL championship, and then 66 and 67 were Super Bowls 1 and 2. Last to do so. No one else has even got there for a chance to win a third. I know the old Steelers, they won 4 and 6 years in the 70s. After they won their first two, they lost in the AFC Championship game. Niners won a couple in a row in the late 80s, lost in the NFC Championship game to the Giants. Cowboys won a couple in a row in the 90s, lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. It's a big deal to make 3 in a row, however you do it. Only the Bills, who famously lost 4 in a row, the Dolphins, who got beat up in Super Bowl VI by the Cowboys, then won Super Bowl 7 and 8, and the Patriots from 2016 to 2018. They're the only 3 other teams that have even made 3 straight Super Bowls. Chiefs also the first franchise with 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years. A lot of people don't like the Chiefs. They think the refs are on the side, yada, yada. I still find the Chiefs very likable. I like Mahomes. I like Kelsey. I like Chris Jones. I like Andy Reid. If they pull it off, fine. Even more so because being a kid who grew up at a very young age rooting for the team with a star on their helmet, I don't like the Eagles. I can't root for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I would like to see the Chiefs pull off that historic three-peat. Let's talk a little bit about props and betting and gambling for all you degenerate gamblers out there. Really, the Super Bowl encourages, you find a lot of people who will bet that don't normally bet. And honestly, I'm one of them. I don't have the disposable income to bet. I would love to put a little skin in the game or have a little skin in the game every Sunday, but I don't have the money to do so. But I do usually make 2 or 3 small wagers on Super Bowl Sunday to make the game a little more enjoyable. Kansas City favored by 1.5. Over/under is 49.5. I'm one of those people who always kind of tends to see the over and wants to bet it, but both teams are really good defensively. And the Chiefs, by the way, an NFL record, they've won an NFL record 17 straight one-score games. They just get it done. They've had some luck. I know they blocked a field goal late in one game. There was a field goal dropped in another, or missed in another. I know that season opener, Isaiah Likely, if he got his toe in by like that much, that game would have gone to overtime. But regardless, they just keep getting it done. And that is a special group with Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes. The Chiefs were really good against the run. They got a good chance to at least contain Saquon Barkley, which no one else has done this season. I think he was the 8th player to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. Huge numbers, blew up against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Just a monster. What I think is fun, especially for the casual fan, because the Super Bowl for so many people it's just an event, right? You have the commercials, you have the halftime show, you have the 2-week buildup. It falls on a Sunday, obviously, where everyone is pretty much free to watch the game. So prop bets are pretty interesting, and you don't have to have any football knowledge for a lot of these. The coin toss, I don't know why, I just can't bring myself to wager any sort of money on heads or tails, but a lot of people will bet on the coin toss. The length of the national anthem is also a very popular one this year. The over-under is 120.5 seconds, so just over 2 minutes. The number of songs sung by the halftime performer Kendrick Lamar, you can wager on that. Jean-Baptiste, I just read he sang the national anthem at the 2017 NBA All-Star game in just under 2 minutes, just under. So if that helps you on your prop bet, good luck. Just don't hold me responsible. Just a little more info for you there. You can bet on the color of the Gatorade dumped on the winning coach as well. You can bet on whether or not Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift after the game. They would definitely have to win if he was going to do that. He was actually asked about that on Super Bowl Media Day and didn't have much to say about it. There's obviously a ton of traditional prop bets. First touchdown scorer, first wide receiver I saw to 20 yards was one. Saquon Barkley, rush yards, Kareem Hunt's, not just the superstars. You get over/under on pretty much any of the regular players on either team, passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards. You can do parlays. I have no idea yet what I'm going to do. I always wager a little bit of money, maybe $100 on 3 to 4 smallish bets, sometimes more. I did a couple years ago. I hit on Sky Moore, got fantastic odds, obviously. Total homer pick, went to Western, scoring into what's called an anytime touchdown. Basically, you just have to score in the game. And I lowered it at the last minute. I remember, I don't know if I did 10 or 20 bucks, but it paid off nicely. But initially I was going to do a lot more. It would have been a nice chunk of change. So there's always those wonderful long shot bets that you can do. So I got to look at that. Probably should have done that before I came up, but whole lot on the plate. So really excited about it. I wish it wasn't a Super Bowl rematch. I mean, you only get one of these obviously every year, but it's nicer when a new franchise makes it, or it's not a matchup we've seen before. And one of the things with the Chiefs is they've played and beat the Niners twice. They played the Eagles a couple years ago. That was a fantastic game, 38-35 game. I think that game-winning field goal was with just a few seconds left on the clock. So, I mean, let's hope for a repeat because they look very evenly matched. But it's obviously more exciting if the Lions, obviously, but if the Buffalo Bills had made it, I think the public interest would be a lot higher. At the Lions, the Lions, great storyline. It's the Lions, Browns, and then really the expansion teams that haven't made the Super Bowl, Texans and Jaguars. And America can kind of get behind that stuff. The Bills, famously, 4 straight losses, the last occurring in like 1993, maybe. So obviously it's been over 30 years. So as a New Yorker, I would love to see that. I'm an upstate New Yorker from Rome, New York, and would love to see the Bills kick in that door and finally reach the Super Bowl. But I don't think we'll see any record-setting numbers. Obviously, we're going to see over 100 million people join in. What else are you going to do on a Sunday? A lot of people, again, they want to hear the commercials. They want to watch the halftime show and Super Bowl squares. I mean, I always dump a bunch of money on Super Bowl squares. All in all, it's just a spectacle. It's a party. It's a great day. I still maintain it should be Super Bowl Saturday. Do it Saturday night. Go crazy. Everyone recovers on Sunday instead of having to get ready for work on Monday. But I don't think that wish is ever going to come true. All right, so I've been gabbing now for 18 minutes. What do we got coming down the pike? I was at the Western hockey practice. Just a fantastic season. This morning I was there. They pretty much practice the same time every morning, roughly 10 o'clock out on the ice for an hour and change. Talked to head coach Pat Ferschweiler, talked to Owen Michaels. I asked Fersch about if even he's surprised. I mean, they lost a ton of firepower from last year's team. And for someone on the outside, like myself, frankly, might have thought this is a year you take a step back. Maybe you're in the bottom half of the top 20, maybe a bit of a rebuilding year. But instead, they're the 4th-ranked team in the nation. They are, I think, 10-1-1 in the NCHC, which they've never won. They're tied for first with Arizona State, but Arizona State's played 2 more games. They're very deep. They're very good. Their special teams are outstanding. I think they're first in penalty kill in the country and 6th maybe in power play goals. Either way, special teams have been fantastic. And this is just a really special group. I was looking at the regionals. Normally they're all, you'll get one in New Hampshire and you'll get some out west in North Dakota and much farther away. Nothing close usually. In fact, a few years ago when they were in Rhode Island, John McCrary and I are jack of all trades, assistant news director, videographer, chief photog. We made the drive to Rhode Island, 14 plus hours. There is a regional this year in Toledo, which Western's definitely in play for. But then again, also you got Michigan State also in the top 4 and who beat Western earlier this year. They could be in line for that Toledo regional, but that would be amazing because you could get a lot more fannies in the seats wearing brown and gold if Western was able to secure a spot in that regional. So we're going to hope about that. What else? The WMU men's basketball team beat up on the road last night, had a chance to get back to 500 in the MAC. Instead, dropped to 4-6 on the season. Pistons are playing, obviously, really well. I really wish Jaden Ivey didn't get hurt. But already with, 24 wins after we're not to the All-Star break and after having won, a franchise-low 14 games all of last season. So there's hope, and that's what we want to see. The Red Wings have been insane under Todd McClellan. They are now officially in the playoffs. If the season were to end today, they would be in the playoffs as a wild card. So I also read on Twitter, and I believe this is true because obviously nothing you read on the internet is ever false, but I believe this is true. The Red Wings, Pistons, Lions, and Tigers have never all made the playoffs in the same season. So we got a chance to have that happen this year. That would be fantastic. And that's all you want is hope, right? I remember when I came here in 2007, they had the April and D thing on FSD, and the Pistons were going deep into the postseason every year. Red Wings as well. Won a cup in 08, lost in 7 games in 09. I missed really the best part of that Pistons kind of second dynasty, but they were still making deep playoff runs up to about 2009, and it was special. It was a special time when you had these great performances. The Tigers were just entering that period where they were going to make those 3 ALCSs and the 2012 World Series and the regular playoff contender, and just never could kick that window in. But right now, the needle pointing up for all 4 franchises, and that's what you want. And so, obviously, an exciting time to be a fan, to be a Detroit sports fan. What else do I want to talk about? I think I left one paper. I numbered all my papers, and I think I left one paper downstairs. But you know what? We've been jabbing for 22 minutes. Hello again, Kathy. Hello, Ron, Jeanette. If you ever want to chat sports, if you want to ask about anything, it doesn't have to be sports related. You can always shoot me an email, apepper@sbg, samboygirltv.com. WWMT, Andy Pepper Facebook, personal Facebook, apepper WWMT on Twitter. Yeah, I still call it Twitter. Some people were giving me some junk about that, and because, for some people it's political to call it X because now Elon owns it, but I don't care about that. If they change the name of Facebook tomorrow, I'll still call it Facebook. But anyways, if you want to talk sports, you want to talk about anything, you want to ask about something we covered, something we didn't cover, make a request to cover something, look, give us a shout. We'll get it if we can, or we'll tell you why we can't. That's all I got. Like I said, I'll be joining you every Wednesday, morning or afternoon. They made me a new background, so I don't have to have that generic News Channel 3 virtual background with a stadium loop, I'm told. But we don't have it in the system yet. So hopefully by next week, fingers crossed. Until next Wednesday, see you on air, and have a great day, everybody.